right, let's bring in Dan LeBatard. He's highly questionable, and he joins us now. Best movie this year, Dan?
It's not your opinion, Dan. It's the wrong opinion.
Exactly.
Clearly, the opinion that the person who disagrees with you has is the correct opinion. Birdman was my favorite. It was super artistically done. I love the writing. I love the acting. It's a modern-day masterpiece to me. Like, I do not see movies like that very often, so that was my favorite.
Okay, if I took for lack of a better expression, the novelty, a designation of novelty out with Boyhood and Birdman, the way Birdman is shot is unique. And just the acting itself, that's why I said, even then, I go with Birdman. I get Boyhood, I understand, but I didn't think the acting part of it was on par with what Birdman was.
I just love the idea of deducting points for unbelievable creativity. Like, let me take the creativity out of it and only focus on the acting. I mean, it's all those things, right? It's an entertaining ride. It's a great story, well told. It's writing. Birdman was exceptionally well written. It was unbelievably acted, and on top of that, it was filmed in a way that, like, I've never seen a movie filmed before. So, like, you throw all those things together, and that's the right opinion, Dan. Any other opinion is incorrect.
The Chris Bosh update. What do we have?
Well, the Heat haven't confirmed anything, so it's been reported that it's pulmonary embolism, which is scary, and blood clots in the lungs. That's been reported, but the Heat don't know that to be so yet. So, the Miami Herald is reporting that he might be out for the year. It's been a pretty terrible season for the Heat that way. Like, you can make the argument, it's not a great argument, Dan, but you can make the argument that they've got one of the best starting fives in the league now with Whiteside, Deng, Wade, Bosh, and Dragic, but they haven't played together at all, and they can't keep anybody on the court. And now you just worry. You hope Chris Bosh is okay because this is a weird injury.
Is this Pat Riley's fingerprints on the Dragic deal?
Man, that's crazy, Dan. Like, it is crazy what he's done. When you look at basketball, like, I know the Warriors and Hawks are good now, but think for how long those organizations have been just okay, and they stay just okay. The idea that Pat Riley, it's not this easy, that he keeps getting different players to make them interesting, like that they would be competitive for championships with different guys, and it's always guys brought in from elsewhere, like LeBron James, Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning. Like, it's not draft picks. Like, he does this so well that you can have a legitimate conversation, Dan, about whether Pat Riley is as good a general manager as he's been a coach, and that's crazy.
Yeah, I never factor him in. I always look at Red Auerbach and I look at Jerry West and probably don't give Pat Riley enough credit as a GM.
Well, he got Shaq. You know what I mean? Like, the only draft pick that he's really hit on is Dwayne Wade. Like, he goes and gets your players that are disgruntled, whether it's Jamal Mashburn or Tim Hardaway or LeBron and Chris Bosh and now Dragic. Like, the way that played out in public, the Dragic thing. Think about this for a second, Dan. When do you ever see a player like that? I understand the players in that league have power, but when do you see a player like that do what Dragic did, which is he basically undermined his entire organization, the organization that helped him be the most improved player in the league, a couple of days before the deadline, and forced his organization with public comments a day before the deadline about betrayal and not trusting management to basically trade him where he wanted to go. And, of course, Miami is a destination where people want to go. So, like, just as a city, it's a destination where people want to go. Like,
but didn't they undermine him by bringing in Isaiah Thomas?
Oh, for sure they did, but I just thought that was great, and another reflection of how the player has the power in that league. Yep, absolutely. They undermined him. And
then they trade Isaiah Thomas, too.
Right. They undermined him. Dan, they undermined him. Okay, you want to undermine me? Okay, here's Sean Williams, Jordan Hamilton, Danny Granger, and Norris Cole.
Unbelievable. I know. If you would have mentioned those four guys and say, who could you get for them? And I would say maybe Joe Smith or Kenyon Martin's expiring contract. Like, I mean, it's amazing. You got a third-team All-Pro guard, and he wants to be the man as a point guard, and as long as Dwayne Wade is willing to, they can mesh there, it's an unbelievable pickup for them. I just, the Chris Bosh thing bummed me out because, that's a bigger picture than just, sitting out a season. So
think about this, though, Dan. This is the thing that we were talking about on the radio the day before. I thought Miami didn't have nearly enough to get Dragic because I didn't think that Deng and Chris Anderson were enough to get Dragic. He managed to get Dragic without giving up Luol Deng and Chris Anderson. Like that, you know what that trade was? That trade is the fantasy sports radio trade that everyone makes when you're a fan of a team. Like, and you just, hey, I'll give you all my junk for Kevin Durant.
Talking to Dan LeBatard of ESPN Radio, highly questionable. Joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I was listening the other day when you had, I didn't get to hear Noel Gallagher of Oasis. I heard you talking to Chuck Klosterman about the Kobe Bryant article profile in GQ. How was Noel Gallagher? Because it was built up to be one of the great interviews of all time by Chuck Klosterman.
I appreciate the plug. If people want to look at it, they could go do so at ESPNradio.com. It was unbelievable, Dan. Like, it's the most, like, we love talking to the rock stars and the musicians about rock star stories and stuff. And this was the best interview that I've ever done with it's only 30 minutes, but with one of those. And it was just hugely entertaining. Like, he's, you rarely hear the guy that just sort of shrugs his shoulders about, yeah, the drug problems. Let me tell you about those. Like that wasn't my dark period. That was my fun period.
Did he talk about how, didn't he say that they were bigger than the Beatles or better than the Beatles?
No, he didn't. He's want to do that. What he said is it was a great joy, and he was magnificently grateful for being able to be alive during the time of Sum 41, the crappiest band in the history of music. That he was just. He doesn't mind sideswiping other bands.
Who's the guy though? Who's the dream interview?
Oh wow, Prince. If you're giving me someone from music and you say, let me have an honest conversation that's going to be totally open and going to be fun and interesting with, now I don't know now that might be a disaster, right?
Yes.
What would it be for you? What would it be if I gave you the guy, and I promise you honesty, I promise you that you're going to get the interesting stuff because you love doing interviews.
I would like to do a Robert Plant interview, the lead singer of Led Zeppelin.
That would be cool.
And, Springsteen, just because, when does the fountain run dry? Like, how do you keep the water moving in the fountain?
Dan, I saw Springsteen a couple of years ago doing splits on stage. He's my father's age.
You know what? With Prince, there are certain geniuses that can't explain themselves. And I would think Prince would have a hard time explaining himself.
But I'd just be curious about his life. Like beyond. I don't know how much I could get into the creativity with Prince because of the very reason that you're expressing. You're right. Like Barry Bonds can't really explain why he was so great. He can just be that guy. He can't explain it to others. It's why great players rarely make great coaches. But I would just like to get into what his life is. Like that guy had this is 100th on the list of interesting things about Prince. But he had a lawsuit with Carlos Boozer because he was renting Carlos Boozer's house, and he decided to just put a purple hair salon in the basement.
Well, didn't he paint it purple?
Yeah. Well, no. I think he made it. I think he made it purple and a hair salon. I don't think there was a hair salon there before. And Boozer gets furious when you ask him about it. Like, it's so funny.
I had Shy McBride, the actor, said he went to Prince's house. And he just said, I just remember all the floral smells in there. It smelled unbelievable. I don't know. You live in his own little world there, but I don't know if they ever let you in. I remember asking McEnroe, "What makes you great?" And he goes, "I don't know." Like he couldn't explain tennis greatness. He said, "I just play. I don't know what I do."
Yeah, I'd love to hear you interview more musicians because, we had McEnroe on last week with the bassist from Rage Against the Machine. They're apparently friends, and it was just crazy, the story that they were telling, because they're kindred spirits, McEnroe and Rage Against the Machine. But the guy had a music video that he did, because it's a very political band, and they were talking about Guantanamo. He did a music video where he spent a day waterboarding John McEnroe. And so John McEnroe was talking about, he's awful. Like, what do you mean, what was it like? And I'm like, but why are you agreeing to that? Like, why are you agreeing to be waterboarded for a day?
But we're in the sports world, so we've sort of heard everything, and even when I venture out into something else, you inevitably get somebody saying, "Oh, stick to sports." No, I love music more than I do sports. Sports is my job. Music, That's my passion.
Oh, you need to do more of that. Don't listen to them. Stick to sports.
Oh, no.
Just do stuff.
We try to get musicians. I'm fascinated with the whole creativity part of it. And that I mean, there's so many musicians that you just, what they do and what it's like to work on something for a year, and then all of a sudden you put it out. Neil Young would be somebody I'd love to understand. Fascinating guy, not just musician, but those are the kind of things that it really pique my interest.
You know the danger you would run into there. Like that's a double danger, because you're always going to get those complaints about stick to sports. Why aren't you talking to sports? I tune into you for sports, as if people don't have enough sports options that they can get elsewhere. And we need everybody breaking down yesterday's trades for wherever the hell Michael Carter Williams ended up. But the thing that's problematic there is that you're talking about musicians, and what you're going to feel when you talk about the guys that you've just mentioned is you're going to feel incredibly old when your young audience comes at you with, who the hell are you talking to? Why are you talking to this Robert Plant person?
Well, I bring up Ed Sheeran, who fascinates me. And then I'll get somebody to say, really? I mean, your daughter's boy band, and I'll go, yeah, well, whatever. So you're never going to satisfy them. So I just pick who I like and who I think that I can bring something out that maybe somebody else wouldn't be able to. But
Fritz, come on, man, you got a boss here.
I got to get on the ball here.
Let's go. You got a boss here. Stimulate him. Let's go.
I know.
This week is terrible in sports. It's terrible.
I know. Fritz will go, I don't know. Do we need to get Sam Amick on from USA Today to break down all the basketball stuff? I said, no, we don't have to.
I'm going to consider this a soul-searching sort of midlife crisis of sports radio moment for you, where your show just totally veers, and the next thing you know, you're going to be talking
No. When I started to do this in its present stage, then I was going through my midlife sports radio crisis. So I'm well past that now. I'm 8 years into this, so it's different than I was at the mothership there.
I want you to go totally fringe, though. Like, just be the sports radio host and just, like, reading political articles. Like, in this 10-minute essay from Time Magazine.
Anthony Bourdain joins us for 2 segments.
Just go crazy. Have people worry about, like, your mental state. Like,
Guy Fieri joins us for 2 segments. We're back right after this.
Yeah, but really, like, go really obscure. Like, just really, like, you talk to European chefs.
Wait, did Colin Cowherd put you up to this? Nice try, Dan. You're sabotaging me.
Yeah, damn it. I'm sorry, Colin. I tried.
Tell your dad and Bo we said hello.
And Stu Gatz. Don't forget Stu Gatz.
Oh, God, I know. Tell Stu Gatz and everybody else on your team that I said hello.
All right, Dan. Good talking to you,
Thank you, Dan. That's Dan LeBatard. He's highly questionable.